On the 23rd of March, exactly 2 years ago as I'm reading this, Silver announced a progress report for Blackout Rebel that looked very polished based off the sneak peek he posted. In his message, he wrote that significant progress was made and that the game would release soon. However, he also stated that it will begin with the paid access phase before the game's full release, and that all data will be reset after this phase. This means all your keycards, all your money, your XP, everything will be wiped to how it was at the start. You may be thinking, why would this happen, and let alone the reason, so stay tuned as I uncover that. But first, consider dropping a like and subscribing to my channel if you found this video entertaining. Also, I'm really close to 2,000 subscribers and I can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate you all for supporting me. And with all that said, let's get started with the video. The reason for a data wipe is quite simple. It's so new players that first arrive when the game becomes free don't have a ruined experience because they're at a big disadvantage at level 1. Meanwhile, lots of players already have all the expensive guns unlocked and use contraband like it's nothing. You might say that this is already happening, and it is, except let me categorize Blackout players into two categories: the pay-to-play and the free-to-play. The pay-to-play is a small portion of players who help polish the game through their feedback and suggestions, so when the game becomes free and the last wave of players get access to the game, they won't have a bad first impression of the game and quit on the spot. This is because it would lower Blackout's overall player base permanently. A data wipe would also fix many problems, at least temporarily. Let me explain. Everything feels so inflated in the current state of the game. It's so easy to get millions of cash because of the lack of balancing, to the point where nobody struggles financially. Everyone uses the most expensive guns because whether they lose a lot of money or not, they'll get it all back easily. And this is done because it removes the purpose for anyone to use semis, since everyone just buys automatics. All of the work devs put into making high detailed guns just is a big waste of time. Similarly, contraband items and keycards are heavily inflated. You'd think a keycard that unlocks the strongest weapons in the entire game would be rare, but oh boy, you'd be so wrong. I don't know exactly how rare keycards are, but I know for sure that they are way more common than they should be. When you run greens in Metro, even in a 2-star server, you can easily get lots of red and orange keycards. I used to be a farm bot, and at one point I even accumulated over 150 red keycards spread across all of my alt accounts. That is literally 150 contraband weapons I can get. And that's not all, even XP is inflated too. Just the fact that you need over 150 million XP to level up to level 50 just sounds so wrong. It should be scaled down 10 times over. Take a game like Criminality for example. To become level 100 you need 175,000 XP, but on Blackout you need 107 million XP just to become level 50. Since kills give you 100 XP each, you're literally required to do daily and weekly challenges, otherwise you'll never level up after you reach level 20. With this data wipe, a lot of people can and will get angry too. All of their progress since the game's release on December 1st, 2023 would have been a waste of time. It would definitely make some OG players feel like they got scammed out of their time. But some players might see this as a way to enjoy the game again. Once you reach the max level, there isn't really anything to do. Since killing players gives XP money, you won't be getting any XP from the effort, and by then you would have earned maybe tens of millions of cash, making the money from kills to be pointless. There isn't even a statistics page or a leaderboard to track your kills, ultimately giving it no reason, besides occasionally hunting operators and commanders since it's fun. But regularly killing players gets repetitive and boring very quickly. There are many pros to having this data wipe. Most importantly, the progression between pay-to-play and free-to-play players will be fair again, with both parties starting at level 1. This removes the ability for people to constantly beam new players with an M4 from across the map. Just imagine how the game would feel if you were a new player. It would suck if a group of level 50s dominated you because your M19 is weak against their full AK kits. Also, everything would feel fresh since you're starting over again. As a level 50 myself, it's been months since I've actually used the beginner level points of interest like the military outpost, other than for access denied and airdrops. A wipe would force players to farm keycards and other things other than just running greens in Metro, like farming keycards in the military outpost. Clearing data would also make looting purple crates and actually using the guns from lab common rather than just rushing to buy high tier gear. One thing that would really be fixed is the dominance of AKs, SCARs, and M4s. If everybody was level 1, it would take time before those guns become the meta again. This means the early game fights would actually be balanced, with players using cheaper weapons and working their way up instead of instantly buying expensive guns. But I think the biggest change would be that players would actually have a reason to grind again. Currently, progression is just straight up boring for a lot of high level players, and wiping everything would bring back the reason for players to kill and grind. Instead of just playing occasionally to hunt operators and counter waves, there would be more variety. Of course, this data wipe isn't just positive, there are some downsides too. If this data wipe were to actually occur, it would be as if all the time you spent farming XP and keycards never happened, and would get cleared from your account like it's nothing. This would make a lot of people take a break or quit the game altogether because they grinded for a reason, to feel like they completed the game, but instead they got pushed back to the beginning. Then there's the issue that nothing is really fixed, just wiped. If the balancing and inflation remains, then this whole data wipe is only a temporary solution until players grind everything back up again. And within a few weeks, Blackout will be the same Blackout from before the data wipe, except now everyone had to deal with starting over for no reason. This wipe would also cause many OG players to leave. These high levels who have played the game for a long time will probably hate to see everything that worked for removed, and this will cause them to leave. There's also one thing this data wipe can't fix. Upon full release when the game goes free, if everyone begins at level 1, all the OG players would still have an advantage over the new players. This advantage would be skills, since OGs are more used to the gameplay over these new players. They would still know the best guns to use, the best way to complete waves, to complete access denied, all the gun mechanics and everything. The only way to combat this would be to introduce a massive update with lots of changes to gameplay, like how the Roaring Skies update did. That update brought new gun mechanics, movement, and many new features like access denied and the Skyfall tag. Personally, I think a data wipe should happen, but alongside other things. Just wiping everything without any significant update would be pointless. There should be the biggest balancing changes this game has ever seen, including a more reasonable leveling system, a balanced economical system so level 20s aren't running around with millions in their stash, and more. There should also be new content, whether it be new broker tasks, weekly challenges, or points of interest. As long as there's new content, OGs who would have to start over again can actually enjoy a fresh experience to the game, rather than repeating the same few things over and over again. That said, I don't think OG players should get nothing for their time spent testing the game. If you bought the game, you should get something exclusive, whether it's an exclusive gun, badge, or even a finisher that proves you were here before it went free. Let me give you an example of this. One game that some of you may know, called Islands, which if you do then you're really OG, had an economic wipe back in 2021. This was because the game was notorious for all the people duping billions of coins left and right. I even remember it was so bad that YouTube videos showing how to do it got hundreds of thousands of views. So anyway, they patched all the dupes and rewarded any players who accumulated over 1 billion coins before the wipe with the golden portal color to credit them for spending a lot of time grinding. I myself even got this portal. So my point is, Silver should reward Blackout players with at least something for all their time spent grinding, if the game does ever get data wiped. If this data wipe were to actually happen, Blackout will need severe changes to keep the community engaged. This includes frequent updates, stronger anti-cheats since we all know how that is right now, but I think most importantly, a reason to keep playing after you reach the max level. It will come to a point again where all the max level players will play less often because they don't really gain anything. So I say remove the level cap. People like progressing, and if they're putting in all this effort just to receive nothing out of it that they value, then it will eventually make them stop doing it or quit altogether. Do you think Blackout should have a data wipe? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you enjoyed watching this video. I have many planned videos in the upcoming weeks for Blackout Rival with interesting topics, so stay tuned for those. And whether this wipe happens or not, Blackout will have a lot of new content by then, and I'll be covering all of it. Updates, leaks, and maybe even some trailer breakdowns, so don't miss out on subscribe with notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.